Dr. Sarah Pye, and I'm the author of the Wildlife Wong series of middle grade science adventure stories. But today I'm excited to launch my next book, Curious Kai Asks Why. Now, Curious Kai is a girl on a quest to save the world. She thinks learning from Queensland animals can help, so she and her mum hook up their camper and go in search of real scientists with the answers. This book is very close to my heart, and it took 2 years to research and write. Thank you to all the interns from the University of the Sunshine Coast who helped me, Taylor, Jess, Amanda, and 2 Emilys. Curious Kai is not a real person, but she is inspired by this girl, my daughter, who allowed me to use her middle name for my character. The character Kai is quirky, inquisitive, and a little nerdy too. Kai's head is full of crazy questions about wildlife, and some of them even stump the 11 experts that she meets. Many of those experts are here today, and firstly, I want to thank them for being part of this book and sharing their incredible knowledge and passion with me. Do you want to meet them? Let's start with Dr. Dom, who loves the sound of our feathered friends. So Dr. Dom, Curious Kai joined you at dawn to record songbirds. She asked you if birds have accents. So what did she learn from you?
She learned that birds do indeed have accents, just like people do, and that these accents can be influenced by where the songbirds are from. So sometimes if a bird sings a certain song, you can tell whether it grew up in the city, in the country, on an island, simply because birds learn their songs from other adults, just like people do. And so they develop little quirks in their songs from the other adult birds that they're learning from.
That's incredible. So how do you actually find that out?
So we go out very early in the morning, as Kai discovered, and we record birds, songbirds from different places. And then what we can do is we can listen, and we can even look at those songs using special software on the computer to look at the differences between how they sing. So sometimes we can't tell that birds have different accents just by listening to them. Sometimes we can, but sometimes we can't. But if we look at them on the computer, we can actually see those differences and go, these birds are singing different sort of words, or what we call syllables, from each other. And we can pick apart whether that's because of where they live, whether it's because they live in a place with lots of other birds, lots of trees, or it might just be, like I said, a little quirk from where they're from, little dialects, accents, and language.
Yeah, it's sort of like you and me, really, I guess.
Exactly.
Too. We come from different parts of the world, and birds do exactly the same. That's really interesting.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, even if a bird is hatched in one area, if it moves to another area while it's learning, it will develop the accent from where it's growing up. My own kid does not have a Canadian accent. He's grown up in Australia, and so he's an Australian accent, and it's the same for birds. So they have to learn from whoever's around teaching them, and they develop the accent based on that.
It's absolutely fantastic, and it was one of the most incredible things that Curious Kai learns through Curious Kai Asks Why. So thanks so much for being part of this project. I really appreciate your time and your energy.
No problem. It was wonderful to work on it too.
Thank you so much. So, Dr. Cass, you and Kevin from Save the Bilby Fund introduced Curious Kai to your research in outback Queensland. One of the questions that Curious Kai asked you is, can bilbies outfox foxes? What was your answer?
I wish it was possible to say that bilbies could, without a doubt, outfox foxes, but unfortunately they can't. That's why we need these fenced exclosures to keep those bilbies safe until we work out how we can get them to recognize foxes and cats as threats. But yeah, at the moment, they're not quite there.
It helps for you to have the enclosure that you have. So can you tell us how that works?
Yeah, so with the enclosure, it's a large fence. It's about 2 meters tall, and it's got a floppy top on it to stop animals from climbing up the outside. And we've got the bilbies. The bilby population is inside that fence. And to stop them from digging under, we've got fence that goes down about 60 centimeters into the ground as well. So if they try and dig underground to get out, they're going to hit this fence, and that will keep them inside and safe, and away from cats and foxes and dogs and dingoes. So it keeps them happy and healthy inside the fence, and yeah, all the predators are on the outside.
Excellent. Now I understand you have a favorite bilby. Can you tell us about your favorite bilby?
I can. So my favorite bilby is called Jane. She was one of the first bilbies that we released at Currawinja National Park into the fenced exclosure. She came from captivity, so she'd only known a captive life before. But as soon as she was out there, she was just, doing all of the things a wild bilby should be doing. So burrowing, she was finding her own food, and she always had a pouch full of babies. So it didn't matter when I caught her up, she'd have another litter on the go. So, and she was just a really lovely, sweet bilby to handle as well. So she was definitely my favorite.
That's lovely. And our readers will actually get to meet your favorite bilby
Excellent.
as a Curious Kai in the narrative. So hopefully they'll get to enjoy her as much as you have. So thank you so much for your time and your expertise and for helping with this project.
Oh, you're so welcome. And I can't wait to get my hands on a copy of that book.
It's on its way to you right now.
Perfect. Thanks.
Spencer, where are you off to right now?
I'm going down to the Gold Coast for a conservation and technology conference. So yeah, it should be really awesome.
Wow, that sounds amazing. Now, thank you so much for being part of Curious Kai Asks Why. Curious Kai spent time with you in the Wallam habitat in Noosa, learning about endangered glossy black cockatoos. You taught her to go slow and pay attention in the bush. So why is this important?
Well, I think going slow when you're in nature is really important to pay attention to what's around you, because if you don't go slow, you can't see all the amazing species. And when I was in the Wallam with Curious Kai, we found Macatheria complanatas and Tommy Roundheads and different insects and birds, and that was all because we were going slow. So I think slowing down when you're out in nature is really important, and it helps you to observe the things around you and also to learn about them and record your sightings.
You record it with your camera. That's something that you use a lot for recording, and you create some incredible calendars of your photographic work. So why do you think it's really helpful for you to look through the lens of the camera when you're actually recording?
Well, cameras are really important to document your observation, but for me, photography is mainly about helping more people to fall in love with nature, because if you love something and then you learn more about it, then you'll want to protect it. So that's really where photography comes in with me, because it's a really critical part of conservation.
It is. And I totally agree, because that's what I'm trying to do by writing stories as well, isn't it? We're trying to get people to love nature.
Yeah.
If they love it, they'll want to protect it. That's the whole idea. So I totally agree with you there. Thank you so much for your time. And I hope the conference goes really well.
Thank you, Sarah. And I'll just add as well that I am so excited to be part of Curious Kai Asks Why, because I think it's such an awesome way to share these stories of different scientists and different people who are already trying to protect nature, and to inspire the next generation like me to do what they're already doing. It's really amazing that my story is featured in 2 chapters, because I hope that that inspires the kids and the adults too that are reading Curious Kai Asks Why. And I think it's a really awesome opportunity to share about the Wallam ecosystem and my journey, and hopefully that'll inspire more kids like me to stand up for nature.
I hope so too. Thank you so much, Spencer. And I hope to see you at one of the in-person launches as well.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll see you there.
See you soon. Thank you so much for taking Curious Kai snorkeling with manta rays. Now, I can see behind you that you've got someone special you brought along. So is it really true that there's a pink manta ray that visits Lady Elliot Island?
There sure is. That's him right there. So this is Inspector Clouseau, and he is the world's only known pink manta ray.
Wow, that is incredible. And it was just wonderful for Curious Kai to actually meet him. So do you have any idea why he's pink?
So we wondered the exact same thing when we first saw him. Back in 2015, somebody submitted photos of him to us, and we thought, oh my goodness, is he sick? Does he eat a different kind of food? What could possibly be making him pink like this? So we put our detective hats on, and we had a little think about him, rosy hue. So we've kind of ruled out diet, we've ruled out sickness. He hangs out with other manta rays, as you can see here in the photograph. He has the same behavior, and so we actually think it's a little bit of a genetic quirk of his melanin production. So that's what gives them their colors. So some manta rays are more white, some are more black, and Inspector Clouseau just happens to be pink.
Well, we think he's beautiful. And thank you so much for being part of this project. I'm looking forward to everyone reading more about Inspector Clouseau. So thank you so much, Asia. Marie, Curious Kai learned about spectacled flying foxes in Kuranda. She wondered if bats were rats with wings or birds with fur. What did she discover when she was with you?
Curious Kai learned that bats were neither rats with wings nor birds that fly. Bats are mammals, like rats and humans, but are not closely related to rats. In fact, we humans are more closely related to rats than are bats. We don't know which group of animals bats are most closely related to. It could be the sister group ungulates, the hoofed animals, the carnivores. Yeah, it could be carnivores, which includes cats, dogs, and birds, or even whales or dolphins.
And
we just have a lot of more work to do.
That's amazing, isn't it? Is it true that bats are actually the only flying mammals?
Bats are the only flying mammal, and so they're grouped into an order called Chiroptera, which means hand wing, because the hand is like the wing.
It is. And when you look closely at a bat wing, it does look like a hand. That's incredible.
It is a hand. In fact, it's exactly the same as a human arm, with the wing membrane, which is just a thin piece of 2 layers of skin with blood vessels in between, that goes from the shoulder right down to the ankle, but very, very elongated fingers.
Incredible. And I think Curious Kai also learned the importance of bats in the tropical rainforest.
That's right, she did. She also learned that bats are important pollinators and seed dispersers, and have an important role in keeping the World Heritage Rainforest and other surrounding forests healthy.
That's magnificent. Thank you so much for being part of the Curious Kai journey. She learned so much from you, and thank you for supporting this project.
And well, we're very happy to support Kai's discovery trip.
Thank you so much, Marie. Welcome, Dr. Graham. Where are you at the moment?
I'm in a little town called Pomperow. It's way up on the west coast of Cape York, about halfway to the top, doing some other veterinary work, not cassowary related.
Okay, that's amazing. But you're the leading cassowary vet in North Queensland. So thank you for spending some time with Curious Kai. And one of the questions that she had for you was she wondered what was the point of feathers on cassowaries if they can't fly?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, so their feathers do have lots of functions actually, but the main function is probably for protection and for sort of waterproofing. So obviously cassowaries live in very much the wet tropics, the sort of wettest part of Australia where it rains in meters. And they amazingly are just able to sort of, those feathers just join together. So in the biggest downpour, they just sit there and don't really love it, just like we wouldn't if we're stuck out in the rain. But then when the rain stops, they just stand up and shake themselves, and literally they are completely dry underneath.
So they're umbrellas. One thing is they're umbrellas.
Exactly. They also protect them because the feathers, if you ever get the opportunity to touch a cassowary, which I probably wouldn't recommend, the feathers aren't soft. They're actually quite I wouldn't say brittle, but quite firm. And so when they walk through the bush, there's obviously lots of thorns and vines and that sort of stuff. So also as they walk through it, that those thorns and stuff just sort of brush off them, and so they protect them in that way as well.
Fantastic. So umbrellas, protection, and can you tell us how cassowaries catch fish?
Yeah, so in the dry season, so obviously we generally get a wet season and a dry season up here in the wet tropics. In the dry season, a lot of those creeks and rivers and sort of lakes and stuff will start to dry up. And so, as happens everywhere where that happens, all the fish and crustaceans and whatever's in the waterway have to become concentrated into a smaller pool or pond or whatever. And an amazing feature of cassowaries is and I have seen it firsthand once, but I've heard it many times from other people, is they will go down into the water, and we always think, oh yeah, they're going into the water just to, you know, cool off or have a swim or you know, do whatever they do. But this on one particular occasion that I saw it is they literally went down into the water, sat down into the water, sort of sat there for quite a while, probably I'd say like 10, 12 minutes, 15 minutes, something like that. And I just thought, oh, he's really enjoying the day. And then it got up, and as it got up, it sucked its feathers really tightly into its body. And then sort of waddled up onto the bank away from the water, and then sort of released his feathers and shook like crazy. And literally little fish and little bugs and things that had been obviously in the water all fell down off his feathers onto the ground, and then he just turned around and started eating them. I was like, that is cool. You've got a fish net for feathers. So really cool thing that they can do.
Pretty awesome. So we've got umbrellas, we've got protection in the rainforest, and we've got for fishing. Cassowaries
Yes.
are pretty amazing, aren't
Yeah, very smart, way smarter than we give them credit for, I think.
they? So thank you so much for being part of this book. I really appreciate all your help.
No problem. Thank you very much.
So Matthew, when you met Curious Kai, it was at Chillago Caves and it was almost dark. You were stringing a sheet between two trees. Can you tell us what you're doing?
Yeah, so I was setting up something called a light sheet. And basically what we do is we set up a big white sheet between some trees and we hang a couple of lights from it. And what happens is at night, insects mistake that light for the moon and they get attracted to it. So we get all sorts of different insects coming to these lights. And you get lots of common things like flies and beetles and moths, but sometimes you also get some really rare and quite big insects like stick insects and praying mantises and things. And it's a really great way to see what sort of insects are around and get to know what sort of species you might be having in the area.
That sounds a little bit easier than going out and trying to find individual species or insects.
Yes, it's quite an easy way of collecting insects, but of course, there are some insects that won't come to our lights. So things like ants, for example, don't have wings. They can't fly to our lights. So I do still need to go out and looking for all those tough to find little insects. And for example, a lot of stick insects, the males have wings and can fly, but the females have only very short wings. And so I need to go out and look for them myself, which is the hard part of the
Doesn't do your
job.
whole job for you. You've got to actually do some work as well.
Yes, unfortunately.
Now, if the students that are actually watching this launch are interested in doing the same thing, can they do that at home?
Yeah, so it's really easy. Obviously, it's very easy to get a nice white sheet and hang it up between some trees. The most difficult part is probably getting a light that's going to attract some insects because a lot of lights these days are specifically designed so that you don't get lots of mosquitoes and flies coming in. But if you really want a good light, you should be able to get, I think the most effective ones that you can get for quite cheap are those used in bug zappers. You can just buy replacement globes and they're really good. But honestly, any sort of bright light is probably going to bring some insects in.
Just don't take the whole bug zapper because we
don't take the whole bug zapper, just the globe.
That sounds like a really fun thing to do. And I can imagine that kids might come up with some crazy questions like Curious Kai if they do that.
Of course. You start wondering so many different things as soon as you see all of these different bugs that come to your lights.
Yeah, amazing. Well, thank you so much for being part of this project.
No problem. It was so great to be part of the book, and I hope Kai learns lots, and I hope all the readers learn lots as well.
Oh, thank you so much. So, Dr. Chin, when Curious Kai met you, she learned about the importance of everyone connecting to country.
And as a child, we were always taught to be able to respect our environment. and every living thing within our environment. In fact, our ways of practicing our culture meant that we indeed were interacting constantly with all of the animals. We were always identifying and gathering a lot of our plants as edible food products. For us as Gubbi Gubbi people, for example, we used to enjoy a great big feast of bunya nuts during the bunya festival seasons. And that's what it means. And being schooled in a sustainable country, a sustainable sense of place, of living in an environment that you love and respect.
So another important character in Curious Kai Asks Why is Kai's mum. She's an artist who sketches their adventures. Now, in real life, these sketches are created by award-winning illustrator Sandra Severgnini. Sandra has many books to her name. We share a love of the natural world, and we also have the same birthday. Believe it or not, it's also World Environment Day. So Sandra, I was so excited when you agreed to illustrate this book. Do you think you could take us through the process of how you approached that task?
Yes, because Kai and her mum were going to be travelling, I thought of doing the illustrations in a journal type book. So I got hold of an actual journal, and that's what we have been using.
So those are actually the real sketches that you
They're
created?
the actual original sketches.
Wow. So how did you choose what to sketch? How did we, because we worked that out a bit together, didn't we?
We did, and it was obviously depending on the story, the ideas that jumped out at me, the animals, obviously, and the situations they were in. So that's what they were based on.
Yeah, so we sort of together, we picked out those things that we wanted to sketch. And then I was so excited every single time I got an email from you with new sketches, and 99.9% of them were exactly what was in my head. So I was very, very impressed. Thank you so much for that.
You're very welcome. That's the joy of drawing, actually, being able to draw that out. So, and the pencil is obviously the usual sketch medium, but I went over with the inks just to help with reproduction of them and more permanency. So
I love the way it looks like a journal or even a scientific sort of a notation, the way you've done it. And there's no AI included. There's no digitization included. It feels to me really authentic. Is that what you were after?
yes, yeah. Although it was ultimately scanned and placed into the computer through Photoshop.
Yes.
And just tidied up slightly, but I still wanted it to look like a rough journal with a few ink marks and pencil scribbles. So yes, it's a look. I was quite happy in the end. I like the fact that you can still see the page edges and that still. So
yeah, I love it. Now you've actually done something a little bit unusual too, because you've hidden a little Easter egg in each of those pictures. Do you want to tell us about that one?
I have the Easter egg or the glasses.
Yes.
So if you can see just above my head here, there's a pair of glasses hidden. So each chapter, there's you have to look for a little pair of glasses hidden in amongst the illustration.
I love that little addition. It's
They're
really
Curious Kai's glasses.
There are so many parts to actually creating a book, and illustrating is definitely one of the most important ones. And I'm sure there are kids that are watching this launch today who love to draw. So do you have advice for those children who would like to be a book illustrator in the future?
Yes, just draw, and find your own style. It's all right to copy styles and get the feel of things, but be true to yourself and find your own style. I tend to be drawn to more realistic. I have a background in mechanical illustration, so I think that naturally comes out in some of my drawings. I mean, I love to scribble too, and do humorous artwork, but I still get drawn back to the slightly more realistic or scientific illustration.
Yeah, no, I agree. Your work is exquisite, and I'm just so excited that we've done this project together.
It's been fun.
It's been so much fun, and I'm looking forward to doing the next one with you. So thank you so much, Sandra, for all your effort.
You are more than welcome.
For every one of my books, when the story and illustrations are done, I send the book or manuscript to young people to tell me what they think. This is super important because there's no use writing a book for kids that they won't read. One of the young reviewers for Curious Kai was Connor, who lives in Hervey Bay. So Connor, can you tell me what you liked most about Curious Kai Asks Why?
I liked the animals and the places they went, and I've been to some of them.
You have? Which ones have you been to?
Some where they recorded the Silver Eye song.
Really? You've been there? Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Because you rather like birds, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to tell me what your favorite birds are?
My favorite, oh God, it's a tough one. Australian-wise, the wedge-tailed eagle, 100%.
Yeah, definitely. I get it.
Wedge-tailed eagle, king parrot. So wedge-tailed eagle, tawny frogmouth, rufous owl, powerful owl, king parrot, rainbow lorikeet, galah.
Lucky. Do you know what? There's a couple of owls, and there's also a couple of eagles in Curious Kai Asks Why, aren't there?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you enjoyed the book because there were lots of different animals in there, mostly birds?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. So what do you think other kids would like about the book?
I think they would like about the book some of like the questions.
Yeah.
The questions are kind of a bit odd.
They're
More they're kind of like for little kids.
There's some good quirky questions in there, you think?
Mm-hmm.
That's good. Quirky questions are important for scientists, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think you might want to be a scientist one day?
Definitely.
Yeah, that be your top job?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm hoping you get to do that. That would be pretty impressive, I think. And keep me posted because I want to actually be there when you produce some incredible science.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being an important part of this project, Connor. I so appreciate your help.
Yep, you're welcome.
Another young reviewer was Milani, who's a wildlife warrior, just like Curious Kai. Milani, I know you're passionate about protecting koalas and their habitat. What can people watching do to help protect wildlife like koalas?
Thanks, Sarah. There are heaps of different things people can do to help. I'm really passionate about showing kids that no matter what age they are, they can help our wildlife. It can be as simple as fundraising to support the work of our wildlife heroes. You can do this by collecting containers for change, or you can sell your secondhand clothes. You can also do no present birthday fundraisers. This is where instead of people bringing you presents, they donate money to a charity of your choice.
I love that one. That's a really good idea, Milani.
You can also collect towels for wildlife shelters and rescue organizations. Another way you can help our wildlife is by learning as much as you can about them, because the more you learn, the more you care, and the more you care, the more you share. You can do this by attending workshops or talks. I run a koala detective workshop where I teach how to spot koalas in the wild, how to report their sightings, how to notice sick koalas, and how to call for help. You can also read lots of books about wildlife. This is why I highly recommend Curious Kai Asks Why, because it's a fun and interesting way to learn about wildlife and the environment.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you, Milani, so much for being involved in this book. Now, Milani has agreed to be Curious Kai's best friend in the next Curious Kai book, which is very exciting. So you'll see her again. Thank you so much, Milani.
Thanks, Sarah. Bye.
When the sketches were done and the young reviewers had read the book, the manuscript went to the editor, whose name is Jane Todd. She makes sure there are no errors in grammar and spelling. She also makes sure that the story isn't confusing. After editing the manuscript, the sketches and the reviews were sent to Graham Tellen, who's a book designer. He created the cover, this one, and laid out the pages. Graham focused on things like making the cover stand out and not having too many words on each page. It's a big job. I'm not just the author, I'm also the publisher. And while Graham was working hard, my assistant Emily helped me create a Kickstarter campaign where people all over the world pre-ordered copies and supported this project. Many of those supporters are watching today. What do you want to say to all our supporters, Emily?
I just want to thank every one of you at this launch who helped make this book a reality. We could not have gotten to this stage without you.
I totally agree, Emily.
So Sarah, will you read us some of Curious Kai?
Of course I will, Emily. Here we go. This is a part of a story that we haven't heard from. This is when Curious Kai learned all about loggerhead turtles. As they moved purposely along the hard, dry, wet sand towards the black shape in the dunes, a murmur of excitement rose. It sounded like the cicadas that Kai remembered from the time she was recording Songbirds with Dr. Dom. As they get closer, the shape was introduced as Diane. As instructed, they fanned out around her and Kai sat down with Mum standing behind. The sand was softer here, not like Lady Elliot. To Diane's left, Kai noticed a plastic mesh circular fence. It was about as round as a coffee table at home, and the sides were about as high as her wooden ruler. Just as she was about to ask what it was for, the sand, right in front of Diane, burped. Then it did it again. And again. On every burp, a flash of grey appeared. First, there was a head with a tiny beak. Then there was a flipper spraying sand. Then Kai could make out a tiny turtle shell. Diane expertly grabbed it between her fingers and thumb, and the tiny creature swam frantically in the air. Diane placed it carefully alongside the enclosure to keep it safe while all the others emerged. This is a loggerhead turtle, Diane said, holding it up. Are they called loggerhead turtles because they float like logs? Kai asked. Not quite. They're named for their really big log-like head. The turtle eruption sped up, and Kai laughed. It was like playing her favorite video game, where she moved up a level and it got faster. Diane was concentrating hard to catch them all, and she started using both hands. Kai tried to count the captive turtles, but they were clambering over each other, so she gave up. One's escaping, Kai pointed, and Diane leaned over to reach. Thank you, Diane smiled, but kept her eyes on the prize. How many will there be? Kai asked. Well, the other nest so far this season only had 20 live turtles. I think they hatched a little too early. Usually there are between 80 and 130, but sometimes more. That's heaps. I can't imagine having that many kids, Mum laughed. It would be hard to be a good mum if you had 100 kids. I hope you enjoyed that and you want to read the whole book. If you haven't pre-ordered your copy, don't worry. Your teacher might give you a flyer to take home. It includes a special school discount code for your parents or carers to use if they order Curious Kai on my website. But they must order by Monday, September 22nd. If you're not at a school, you can also purchase Curious Kai through my website, or you can also order through your favorite bookshop. As I speak, the book is being transported to bookshops throughout the country by Jules and her team at Woods Lane Press. Teachers, to make it easy for you to incorporate this book into your classroom, we've created a 25-page resource to save you time and money. It's available at sarahrpie.com. Please reach out if you'd like me to visit your school, either in person or again online. Together, we can ignite a love of science and nature in your classroom. So Curious Kai Asks Why is now officially launched. If you'd like to meet me and some of the scientists in person, we have 3 launch events coming up. Here they are. Karoi Library, September 25th, 9:30 till 11. Cairns Library, September 30th, 10:30 to 12. And Where the Wild Things Are, Bookshop in West End, will be on November 9th. Thank you once again to everyone who's been part of this book journey so far. I couldn't have done it without you. Science expands human knowledge, and scientists are explorers of our world. Curious Kai is an explorer too. I wonder what crazy questions she'll have in my next book. Bye.